Hands up if you've heard the word non-binary gender, or the words non-binary gender before. Hallelujah. This is a very exciting thing. Hands up if you feel like you could offer some kind of explanation of what that means. Yeah, it's respectable. It's quite a decent handful of folk. Not actually going to make you do that, but everyone's like, suddenly everyone's like, I could have done it. Yeah. I see that. I see what you're doing. But the thing is that the definitions are not really what I'm going to get hung up on. So we could send around a glossary of terms after this meeting to say, what does this word mean? So how does somebody identifying their gender as non-binary differ from someone who says, I'm a transgender woman, or I'm a transgender man, or something that might sound like a more binary gender identity? I'm going to try not to be a dictionary and try not to offer those kinds of definitions, because inevitably it's always about the self-determination of that person in question, and it's always about their context and what's appropriate for that person and the words that they use about themselves. So that can be worrying for people who really want me to give you the kind of, either give you the tools to be able to talk about this stuff without offending anyone, which I can say be kind and be caring and be aware of your own baggage, but that's about as far as it gets in some ways. The be aware of your own baggage part is really crucial. We've all got it about gender stuff because we live in this context. But I can't tell you exactly what someone is going to mean when they say, I'm thinking about transitioning, or I'm thinking about changing my gender in some way, or I don't feel quite comfortable with how other people see me as a gendered being in the world, or I've noticed that when people refer to me based on my sex category, it feels really uncomfortable. Yeah, like all of these things, you just need to follow up with that person, ask them what they're talking about, be caring and be invested in building that relationship. That's, I think, how you're going to get the most accurate information. So it's like I'm getting up and saying that I refuse to tell you the thing that I've been invited to talk about. The general gist, right, one of the things I want to say is that the general gist of non-binary is to imply that you don't have to be at either end of that binary. And we have these binaries about so many things, like it's not like gender is the only thing. That's helpful, I think, but one of the things I've been hearing lately is this idea that, young people are so fluid and they've got so much fluidity and they're so enlightened and wonderful, which is absolutely true, 100% agree. But let's not confuse fluidity with confusion or fluidity with non-specificity. So some of the things that I see are young non-binary people who've done a lot of work with themselves to know exactly where they would put themselves on that spectrum or on that continuum. And they have some language around it and some ideas about it, and it is actually quite clear. That's not a confused young person just because they're expressing their gender in a way that isn't binary. So I've heard an equation of non-binary with automatically having a fluid sense of gender, as in changes at different points at different times, which is not necessarily the case. Some non-binary gender people are quite clear about being in one place. It's just not the place of man or woman, right? And I've heard also the equation of being fluid with being confused. And I think I see how this happens. I think this is what happens. The young person, since we're talking about young people, but it's certainly not just young people, says something about gender that somebody can't quite grasp. And then they go, okay, I see what's happening here. The young person is confused. But do you see who's actually confused in that situation? It's not surprising to me that we're confused, because we don't talk very clearly and openly about things like this. We don't talk about the differences between the sex category that you're assigned and the gender that you identify with, or how these complex things navigate together to make a human being. We don't talk about the intersections of racism or sexism or socioeconomic factors. If we can't grapple with those things, then of course it's hard, we feel confused when someone says something about their gender that just doesn't make sense with our worldview or our paradigm, and in that moment we just project right back onto that person the confusion that we're feeling. Yeah. So let's not do that. You can stop doing that now. Thanks. Check that off. Check